Okay, so hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to see about working with model form. In last classes we have discussed how we can work with form, but today we will going to see model form. Model form means whenever you want to store the user input into the database, that time your form class will inherit model form, right? So generally we used to create the basic form. Let me show you. Okay. So for example, whenever we want to read the form data, so read, okay, reading form data. So how we can read the form data? So in order to read the form data, we have clean underscore data method. For example, let's suppose I have to read name, I have to read marks, or I have to read the records. Okay, so what we can do here? What we can do here, we can write here form dot clean underscore data. Clean underscore data, and here we can write the field name. So this is name field I want to read, right? Similarly here, let's suppose you have to read the marks. What you will write? Clean underscore data. Okay, here also we have to write data, and then we have to write the name. Names like marks, right? Let's suppose we have to read the record. So we will write here form dot clean underscore data, and here we will write the records. Okay, so this is what we have to read the form data, right? And when we create the form, so there are two options to create the form. Okay, so first one is we are creating the form using form dot forms, right? And another way is by using model form. So forms dot model form, right? So this we have seen how we can work with forms dot form, like how we can inherit this class, but now we will see how we can inherit this model form class. So we have seen here like how to create the forms dot form. So we write basically class, maybe student, and what we write here, this form should be inherited by form class. So we write something like forms dot form, right? So this is nothing but this is a normal form. What we are creating here while writing this, we are creating a normal form, right? And whenever we want to create the model form, so how we will write? We'll write class student form, and this should inherit from forms dot model form, right? Now the question is, why do we create the model form? So this is nothing but model form. Okay, so what is the use of model form? Okay, so sometimes we can create form based, we can create form based on model. Okay, so such type of forms are called model based forms, or in general we call it model form. So what is the advantage to create model form? So the main advantage of model form is we can get end user input data, and we can save or store data very easily into the database. Now how we can store the data into the database? We can write here. We can write here form dot save, right? Or we can write form dot save and commit equals to true. So these are the two ways to save the form data into the database, right? Okay, now the question is how to develop model form or model based form. So in order to develop the model form, what we have to do, number one is, while developing form class, we have to inherit form. From where? From, we have to inherit form from forms dot model form. Okay, so this is forms dot model form is nothing but a class, right? So then we can write something like class, let's suppose a registration form. Well, let's suppose this is a registration form, and if you want to create, if you want to save the registration, user registration into the database, then you need to create the model form. So this form can be created as a model form, but you need to inherit which class? Model class. Okay, forms dot model form. Right. Now inside this class, what we need to do? We need to define one meta class. Okay, we have to define one inner class. That inner class name is nothing but meta class. So here we will define one meta class. Why we are defining meta class? Metadata means data about data. Okay, so this meta class will contain the information of our model. Okay, means database model. Where is our database? What is our database name? How many columns we want to store? How many columns data we want to store into the database? These all information can be stored by the meta class, right? So we will write something like model name. So model name is nothing but student model. Okay, student model is nothing but database. This is the model class we have created. That information we are writing here in meta class. Okay, this is nothing but this is the form class, and this form class is the child class of which class? This form class is the child class of model form. And why we are writing meta class? Meta class is nothing but an inner class, which is nothing but keep the information of our database model. So our database model name is student model, right? Now if you want to, now you can mention how many fields you want to save in the database. Means there are form, for example, there is a form, in form there are 5 fields. So do you want to save all the 5 fields data? Okay, so what you can write? You can write here fields is equals to underscore underscore all. So this is how you will save all the fields into the database. Let's suppose if you want to store a specific field in the database. So what you can write? You can write something like fields, and I don't want to store all the fields. I want to store specific field. Okay, like F1 field I want to store, or F2 field I want to store, and F3 field I want to store. So this is how you can write. Let's suppose in your form there are hundreds of fields to get the student information, but you want to store only 3 fields, right? So that time you can use fields. Fields means how many fields you want to store into database. Model means what is, where you want to save your form information. So I want to save my form information into the student database, right? Okay, so now let's see. Okay, now let's see how to save users data to the database in the model based in the model based form. Okay, so we will continue this in the next lecture. Okay, so we'll continue this in the next lecture. We will see how we can store the how to save users data into the database. Okay, and we will write the code also. In the next class we will write the code and we will see this.